Hey, and good Friday morning, everybody. TGIF, a meteorologist, Greg Majeski here, back with you here to give you the weather report, get you ready for the upcoming weekend. As we got a lot to talk about here, we're going to give you the latest on the tropics. Obviously, we got our big boy Aaron moving away from the East Coast, and we got some other areas out in the tropics to talk about. We're going to talk about the big pattern change coming our way, big cool down. We're talking about potential record lows as well as dealing with some record highs out in the west. So it's going to be kind of a topsy-turvy week coming out as we've got that really fall-like air that's going to really come in across a big portion of the country. Now, before we get into this full report, if you're coming to this live broadcast after the fact, let me introduce myself. I'm meteorologist Greg Majeski. I'm a no-nonsense type of guy. There's enough super hype, over-the-top weather coverage out there in the social media world, and we like to give it to you straight. The motto here is real simple: stay prepared and not scared. That's what we like to try to do here. So if you like this approach, if you want to be part of our weather dailies here, please consider subscribing to that channel. Hit that notification bell so you'll alert on future content. And as always, if you have a weather-related question, please post it down below. I do respond to everybody, and give me a thumbs up does help with that thing called the almighty YouTube algorithm. All right, let's go ahead and get into this right now. Our highs and lows yesterday. Boy, you talk about a hot one we had yesterday. Once again, our favorite place out in the Mojave Desert, Tekapoa, California, 120 degrees out there. Cold spot wasn't in Utah this time. This was up in Pierce, Idaho, 26 degrees out there yesterday. So you kind of see what's going on here. Obviously, here's our big storm out here. That's our hurricane pulling away slowly but surely. Definitely setting up some pretty heavy surf there along the New Jersey shore. In fact, I'm going to show you that camera view there in just a second. We got some storms down here along the Gulf Coast. Get some thunderstorms down here near the Houston area, and got some storms up here getting ready to pull into Sioux Falls up this area toward the South Dakota region. So a little stormy out there. It's going to be a bit unsettled and rainy here across the southeast for today, so you guys watch out for some rains. Could see some heavy rains down that way as well. Now let's go take a look at our surface map here for this morning. Again, we got this cold front right here. It's this one right here. It's going to be uttering in the really nice cool shot of air here that's going to be moving on in here going into next week. It's going to be one of a couple of fronts that are going to be dropping down. Now, unfortunately, until that clears out, you guys here across the southeast, you're going to remain unsettled here because that stationary front boundary is not going anywhere until that other cold front catches up. So expect high rain chances and cloudy conditions here, especially across areas of Georgia and the Carolinas, I think. And then obviously the Northeast not looking too bad here. Definitely seeing a little cool down there right behind that initial front. So again, we've got some unseasonably cool weather moving in, but you guys out in the west, I wish I had a better story for you guys. Everywhere from the Pacific Northwest all the way down here to the southwest, you guys are going to stay very hot as that cool air moves on in. It's kind of shunting the high pressure ridge and that hotter weather out into the west coast. So you guys are going to stay, unfortunately, going to continue to stay pretty hot there the way it's looking right now. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the rain. Let's go look at what's going on here. I want to go to Radar Mega here real quick. Kind of focusing in up here in the Dakotas here. You got Sioux Falls, got some thunderstorms coming up into this area here. That's ahead of that frontal system moving on through. Rain going up here towards Siston, Webster. Pretty good downpours here across the areas there. Eastern South Dakota for this morning, but that's really about it. We got, of course, got the stormy weather down there along the Gulf Coast as well. Now, watches and warnings. Obviously, here's our heavy rain threat here. We got some heavy rains here this morning as we're on the radar. Got some windy conditions up here across North Dakota and Minnesota, and all of this is dealing with the hot and heat temperatures. Excessive heat warnings here, hot heat advisories, very hot in the west, and that's going to linger into the weekend. So you folks out in the west, please try to do your best to stay hydrated and stay out of the heat as best you can. And again, Phoenix could be looking at challenging some heat there. Actually, Phoenix got some rain yesterday for the first time. Again, there's a subtle changes coming there as we're going to see the monsoon moisture really kind of kick up here going into the weekend and going into next week. So we're going to first start off by taking a update on your tropics right now, taking a live look there at the New Jersey beach cams. Look at the surfers. You know, they're out there enjoying the higher surf conditions. Things there are looking a little bit better. Look at the clear skies in the wake of that hurricane going on by there, but definitely still dealing with some high surf along the Jersey shore. I'm sure there's still going to be some rip currents, still going to be a bit of a problem there, but things will be improving all up and down the eastern seaboard here through the weekend. So if you have any plans going to the coast this weekend, you should be looking okay. Now, we've got a lot of stuff going on out here in the tropics. We've got Aaron, which is, of course, pulling away. This likelihood will be Ferdinand that's going to develop here pretty soon. but this one's going to follow behind Aaron. I'm not worried about that one. The little disturbance we had out here in the middle of the Atlantic yesterday, they knocked that down to 0. That's not a problem. This one showing a 50% chance, but it's not the best environment. There's conditions out there just not very good with some wind shear coming out of South America a little bit there. So not looking great there. That's the one I'm most concerned about. It will probably move into the Caribbean or not. And we'll wait and see. This tropical wave may take a long time before it even gets any chance to develop, but nothing imminent. So the way it's looking right now, I know we're a week away from looking at Labor Day weekend. And right now, from the tropics perspective, I don't see anything out there imminent that's going to cause problems for anybody going to any of the beaches on the Gulf Coast or the East Coast going into Labor Day weekend. Labor Day weekend is very early this year. It's falling on the 1st. So again, looking good so far. So of course, always subject to change, but right now looking pretty good. So here's the latest on Aaron as it's continuing to accelerate now, northeast at 22 miles per hour. Hey, notice that some of these winds actually getting so far from the center, some getting near tropical storm force winds out there near the Cape Cod area, the tip of Massachusetts, getting impacted there a little bit. This thing's going to accelerate off. It's going to become a hybrid system. I know they're listed as a Cat 1 all across the Atlantic. Let's be honest, it's going to be changing into basically a big hybrid low pressure system by then, not really so much tropical at that point as that continues to pull away. So here's the satellite images of this storm. It's already kind of looking a little more hybrid looking nature here a little bit. So here's our storm. Really the big cluster of storms are here. It's pretty much on the eastern side of the system as it's beginning to pull away. Goodbye, Aaron, and nice to know you. All right, getting on out of here. Now, elsewhere across the Atlantic, what we're seeing out there, because here's our next little disturbance here that's showing that 90% chance for development. I'm not worried about that one so much. That one's going to stay offshore. Here's this other one here that's probably going to make it in toward areas of the Lesser Antilles here. That'll probably make it across, but again, not a good environment for it to currently be in. And then we have another tropical wave we have to watch back behind this one. So we got 3 different areas out there in the Atlantic behind Aaron to watch, but nothing imminent right now. So things looking pretty good out there. Let's look at the model data here. We'll look at that. Here is the ESON's European model here, kind of showing again what's going on with that as we got this kind of looping on through. Of course, we've got Aaron here that's moving on out. We have what may become Ferdinand here kind of moving up toward the north here. And then whatever is left of this system kind of moving into it loses its integrity. It's just not showing up there. I think I see one model, it kind of pops back up here right at the tail end of the run here. It is right here. Tail end of the run here kind of coming into the Gulf. But again, there's no really model consistency on that other one. So nothing imminent out there right now. So that's the good news here going in toward Labor Day weekend. Of course, the peak of the hurricane season is still September the 10th, guys. So again, just kind of stay vigilant. Keep it tuned here. We'll keep you updated and let you know what you need to worry about out there. All right, let's go talk about the thunderstorm threats here for today. We do have some marginal risk for severe weather. Your day 1 outlook here from the Storms Prediction Center. We're talking about areas here from looking at the UP of Michigan, stretching all the way back into Wyoming, Colorado here. Basically, you're looking at some individual heavy rains, some strong gusty winds, maybe up to 60, 70 miles per hour. Got a general thunderstorm threat down here in the south, but also a heavy rain threat. I'll show you the excessive rainfall there in just a second. But that's your day 1 outlook here for today. Day 2 is not looking bad at all, just a general thunderstorm threat. Probably will see this change tomorrow. Wouldn't shock me to see something put up this way, for example. General thunderstorm threat out in the west. The west is going to see an increase in moisture, so some localized flooding potential will increase there over the next 3 days as well. So remember that when I show you the excessive rainfall there. And then going into day 3, looks like a little pocket here going into Sunday here across Colorado and into Kansas. So in the general thunderstorm threat here up and down the eastern seaboard as that final front pushes on through and brings in that cooler air across a big portion of the country, bringing a nice cool down there. All right, let's look at the excessive rainfall here. Let me pick this up back to day 1 here. There we go. Let's go back to the excessive rainfall here for today. And the southeast is going to be the bullseye here. This is going to be predominantly down in the south. This was highlighted yesterday, still kind of highlighting today. So we're talking about Augusta, Macon, Americus, Albany, Savannah, getting close to Columbus, Georgia, Charleston, and you still got some isolated air downpours here across North Georgia as well. When I show you the precipitation totals, yeah, Georgia's looking pretty wet here over the next couple of days there. We're going to see the rains pick up out here in the west as well. Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, going to see that increase through the weekend. So that's going to be a bit of a problem, little spot there across South Dakota. Obviously, we saw the heavy rains that's kind of falling there currently in that zone. Let me pull back a little bit more. Oh, go back this way. There we go. All right, so let's look at your day 2. At least no yellow. The southeast remains wet. Isolated ponding and flooding there. Notice the region out here in the west starting to expand. Colorado, Utah, Nevada, getting into some heavy rains out there. Again, there's still some major drought conditions out there in the west, so this is helpful. This kind of expands outward again, going into Kansas. There's a complex of storms that may roll out of Kansas and into Oklahoma with some heavy rains. You'll see that on the model data here in a second. And then, of course, here comes our frontal system. You got some heavy rains along that from New York down toward north Georgia and Florida. So, again, we're going to see a significant cool down here. You guys in Florida, though, I don't think it's going to make it down your way. I think we're going to be stalling that front down there near the Panhandle, it looks like, going into this upcoming early next week. All right, so let's talk about the model data. Let's get into this. We're going to talk about the NAM first. We're going to look at that first, take you out for the next 60 hours on this. As we say goodbye to our hurricane, again, a couple things you're going to notice is it's staying very unsettled here across the southeast. Again, there's that complex of storms kicking out there going into late Sunday and Monday there. We're going to see increased thunderstorm activity out here in the west. And then we got this big trough digging on in here, kind of moving on here for Sunday. So we got that frontal system that lines up in here going in towards Sunday. So we got some big changes coming on in here. In the wake of the hurricane's going into the westerlies. It's buckling the jet stream. It's forcing a trough here in the east. And it's going to bring in some very, very fall-like air, unheard of for the last week of August. August is still, it's still summertime. We're in September yet. It's still summer. And it's definitely going to be an early feel to this. All right, so let's talk about the rainfall totals. Again, I'm going to show you the NAM on this. I'm going to stop this right at the end. I got some heavy rains up here with the frontal systems across Minnesota, up here toward the UP of Michigan. Here's some storms out here in Colorado, coming out of Kansas. Again, you got that complex of storms rolling out of there. Pretty heavy rains along the Gulf Coast, but you can't help but notice what's going on here in the south. A lot of heavy rains here across Tennessee, North Carolina, Georgia, South Carolina. Look, almost the entire state of Georgia here has got some sort of heavy rains in here. 4 inches, 3 inches, 3 inches, 6 inches there, 2 inches. But right now, the concentration is down here. But a lot of the states covering here on the NAM model and along the Charleston coast. So not one of the best beach days this weekend. Maybe the following weekend will look pretty good. Labor Day weekend may look good, but this weekend looking pretty terrible. Pretty wet all across the Gulf Coast as well. Cloudy skies, kind of rainy, kind of damp there. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look at the temperatures. And boy, the big thing you're going to notice here is the invasion of the cold air. It is definitely coming on down here as we got this initial cool down, and then we got this more substantial one. So we're really squeezing down this hot air. Look at the green kind of coming down here again. Let me freeze this here as we get toward Sunday morning here. As I kind of show you this real quick, as I'm going to take this up to about 7 o'clock there. Look at all this cool temperatures in here. Wow, we're talking 45 near Des Moines. How about that? We're in the low 50s near Chicago. We're at 47 near Minneapolis. So we've got some very nice cool air here coming on down. Still warm here in the south. We're in the 70s, still in the 60s here. But eventually, this is going to spread across the entire northeast and the southeast. So it's going to be moving in very nicely. Sorry, I got the little frog in my throat here this morning. So anyway, so this will go on through and it will be cooling us down. Again, the heat will stay out in the west. We're going to stay hot out here. Texas is going to stay hot. But we really got a nice cool down here through the weekend. And we're going to take this through next week as well. All right, so here we go. Here's the pattern view here. This is the European model here. This is the European anomaly. This is the 500 millibar height anomaly map here. So I got this rolling on to kind of get an idea where the troughs and the high pressures are. Again, your troughs are in the blues. Your oranges are your high pressure area there. So the one thing you're going to notice here, as we've been talking about, is that hurricane pulls on out. Big trough here in the east. Now, what's happening here now is this troughiness looks like it's going to linger straight into September. So this means the eastern half of the United States is going to definitely see below normal temperatures for a while. The Northwest is going to hold on to the heat. Then we're going to beat down a little bit of this troughiness here in the west. You see a little bit of that trough kind of moving into the northwest there. But look going into September 3rd. We have one trough that holds in place, and then we got another one that spills in right down behind it. So this means we're going to stay with kind of unusually cool weather across the eastern third of the United States going right into Labor Day weekend and into the first week of September. So that's the way that's trending. And that's been pretty consistent here on the last few model runs. Again, when you look at anything beyond 7 days, you're looking for model consistency. And that's what we're seeing right there. And when I show you the Climate Prediction Center outlook, you're going to notice that as well. All right, so let's look at your 7-day forecast here. Again, this is the European model here. Look at the big drop down. This is our cold front. We got a couple of shots coming down with this here. So going in towards Sunday, here's our cold front right through here. That's our cold front. So here's our cold front kind of coming on down. Here's the cooler air kind of filtering on in across the area. Got some storms here, a little unsettled here across the south until we get that kind of kick that old boundary out of the way. All right, so let me take this forward here. Again, the cool air kind of comes on in, staying unsettled across the northeast going in toward Monday, unfortunately. And then we got some rains, again, increasing rains out here across Utah, Colorado, into Oklahoma, some storm complexes there. The NAM was showing that too. So we got a couple of hot zones there to watch there with some heavy rains. But boy, we get into Tuesday next week. Oh, it's going to look so good. The Northeast is going to look great. The Midwest is going to look awesome. A lot of the Southeast. We're going to squeeze that heat through Texas. We're going to see again, Florida, you guys aren't going to get on this. I'm sorry. It's just not going to come all the way down that far south. It's just going to kind of stall there. So it's going to remain rainy and unsettled down there because of the front in that proximity going to next week. And the western U.S., again, you're going to continue with the monsoon out there. That's going to stay wet out there continuing into next week. So kind of wet out there in the west. And then we got another cool shot. Look at this. Got another one coming down here going into next Thursday. So this goes into next Thursday. See a little low kind of forming there off the coast and spinning up there. This is going to be unusually cool weather here across the Northeast as this next cool shot comes on down. But it looks like basically the eastern half of the United States is going to be seeing some well below normal temperatures for almost the entire next week. That's the way it's lining up right now. So here goes that rainfall total. Again, we got rain. This is a 7-day total here going to next Friday. Rain here into the north, New England. Again, we got a lot of storms, a lot of wet weather out here in the west because of the increased monsoon, and maybe some thunderstorms coming out in the plains. This is lighting up a bullseye here over Oklahoma here. I have to watch this. There's going to be some heavy thunderstorm action coming in here out of here going into next week. So we got to watch that across Oklahoma. The southeast will stay wet, and Florida with that front kind of stalling down into the south. That's going to be kind of an enhanced area for heavier rains down here. 3 inches, 2 inches. Seeing some pretty good rainfall totals down there. Heavy rains offshore, but looking unsettled along the Gulf Coast because of that frontal system that's going to kind of stall there. So from Houston, New Orleans, all the way over to Pensacola, over to Jacksonville, that's going to stay unsettled because the front's going to stall down there toward the south. All right, let's talk about temperatures. Let's get into this. Let's talk about this. This is Sunday. This is very important. It's probably the most important part of this broadcast because you want to see how the temperatures are really going to be here. So we're staying hot in the west for the weekend. Again, you got 100-degree temperatures up there in the northwest. We're staying hot in the southwest as well, although not quite as hot as it has been, not the 120-degree heat we had yesterday. It should start to back up a little bit. We got 100-degree heat here across Texas. But look here across the Great Lakes here for Sunday. 54 degrees in Wisconsin. This is 5 o'clock in the afternoon, folks. You're seeing 69 up there in New York, 73 in Pennsylvania, 73 there in Illinois. It's still kind of warm here across the southeast, but again, we're going to be moving that frontal system coming in on Sunday. All right, so this is going to come on down. Let's go check in your Monday afternoon, Monday morning. Let's try it morning. Look at all these 40s. Look at this, 44, 46, 48, 55 in Kentucky. Here's our front coming on in here. So we're going to be bringing this and clearing on in, and we're going to see more green on this map for morning lows. So let's go to your afternoon highs on Monday. Again, we're really squeezing that heat down here to the south. Seeing much cooler temperatures across the northeast. Again, the front's going to be slow to clear. Monday's going to stay one more warm day across the south. Really kind of gets in there going into Tuesday and Wednesday. Hot in the southeast. We're still hot here in the Pacific Northwest. That's going to be sticking around for you guys. Let's go to your Wednesday morning or Tuesday morning. Again, the Midwest, gorgeous. Look at this, 51 degrees, 51 degrees, 48 degrees. The Northeast starts to cool off, 52 degrees there. Get into the Carolina Mountains, 56 degrees down here. We're getting the 60s now into Atlanta, down toward the Atlanta area. And your afternoon highs on Friday. Look, where's all the purple? It's gone. This is supposed to be August, guys. And we got hot weather across Florida, Texas, Arizona, across the west. But I mean, just beautiful, perfect weather. 72 degrees in Illinois. How about 75 degrees there near Knoxville, Tennessee? Charleston, West Virginia, 69 degrees. How about there? New York City, we're talking 78 degrees there. I mean, just absolutely beautiful. Still warm here along the Piedmont area on the downhill side of the mountains a little bit here. A little bit of downsloping, I think, causing the heating there a little bit. Let's look at your Wednesday morning glows. This is probably the coolest morning we're going to have here. Look at all this. Look at how much of the country here is seeing the 40s here. We got upper 50s getting into North Georgia. We got 50s here across Pennsylvania and Maine. Just gorgeous. Just very nice. Just for big part of the country, except for the Northwest. Morning lows around 80. I mean, come on. That's ridiculous. Unreal. And thank you for the new subscriber, by the way. I see a couple of new subscribers out there. All right, let's look at your Thursday here. Let's look at your Thursday morning. Again, 5 o'clock. Still kind of holding on there with the cool air across the east here. Remember, we got that another shock coming down here going in toward the end of that week. Cool across the Intermountain region, still warm air across the southwest. And then we'll check out your daytime highs on your Thursday. Again, we start to rebound a little bit here across the high plains. Notice here we start temperatures coming back in the 80s and 90s here. Cooler here in the east. We start losing the grip just a little bit. And then when you got hot temperatures across Texas and to Arizona. So Texas, you're not going to get too much of a relief there. You get a couple days, but not too much. And then going into your Friday, let's check out your Friday morning lows here on Friday morning. It's still not as much green. The thing starts to modify toward the end of the period there. And then there's your 5 o'clock on Friday. So we start to see the heat coming back across the high plains and across the Texas area. Still looking at 100-degree heat a little bit. Most of these looks like 70s and 80s for the most part. So nice, gorgeous week ahead. So let's wrap this up. Look at your climate outlook here. Again, this is your outlook here going from basically the 27th to the 31st. So as we wrap up the month of August, you're looking at below normal temperatures for a big part of the country, except for, as you just saw, the Northwest. They're going to continue to bake up there. It's going to stay hot out there. And then look at your 8 to 10-day outlook here going into September the 4th. Again, a lot of the country still looking at below normal temperatures, except for the Northwest and the extreme South, including Florida and Texas, getting on there. That'll stay kind of hot down here across these zones down here and the Northwest once again. And we do warm up across the high plains. You saw that at the tail end of that model run as well. Here, precipitation-wise, the west is going to be wet. I'm really worried about flash flooding out that way, especially with the monsoon tropical moisture influence there. We'll have to watch that closely. Remember, we were watching that little cluster of whatever storms coming up in here toward the tail end of that run, that model run. So we got a couple of areas there to watch, and that kind of continues in going out toward the 29th to the 4th. So the Great Lakes are going to stay dry because of the northwest flow, obviously, with the cool Canadian air moving on down, and that'll continue to be pretty gorgeous weather, except that additional shot toward the end of the 7 days, days 6 and 7. We get that little reinforcing shot coming down there. All right. Anyway, looking pretty good out there for today. Again, we got a lot to cover out in the tropics. Again, nothing imminent right now. That's the good news out there. Although it's pretty active. We are getting toward the peak of the hurricane season. We'll see how that goes for right now. I'm not expecting too much in the way of problems out there for right now. We'll have to watch how this cool air comes on in. And typically when I've seen these kind of cold shots or cool shots, the models tend to underestimate it just a little bit. But it is awfully early. It is still August 22nd. So, I mean, yes, the days are getting shorter, that kind of thing. But I'm interested to see what ultimately how cool it's going to get. I do suspect we're going to see a lot of record lows across the Midwest, parts of the Southeast, getting into New England. We're going to see some record highs today, especially tomorrow, across areas of the West once again coming on there. So we got a couple of days of that. All right, who we got out there on the chat here for this morning? Got Sam. Hey, good morning, Sam. Good to see you there. Who else we got? Is it Ingman Lindholm? Hey, good. Oh, from Sweden. Hey, we got a Sweden viewer watching this morning. Hey, Sweden, good to see you there this morning. And, of course, Rita, one of our regulars out there. Good morning, Rita. Good to see you out there for this morning. Again, I do appreciate you guys checking out the channel, and thank you for the new subscribers that come on board here. And really, I do appreciate you guys help this, because the only way we can kind of maintain our audience on this channel is we have to do these daily, because we typically lose like bots and stuff every day. You lose 2 or 3 of them. So it's very important to kind of get real people on here as much as we can to kind of maintain our audience. And hopefully I'll be able to do an ad buy here. I think we're up to like $32 now on the revenue made. When I get 100, I put it back in the channel. So I'll probably do another ad buy here, probably right around Labor Day, I think. Probably around Labor Day, I'll do another week buy, and we'll start pushing that meter in the right direction. Again, if you guys have a weather-related question, please post that down below, and give me a thumbs up if you can. Helps with the algorithm a little bit. And you guys have a great and pleasant day, and we'll see you on the Monday edition of the Weather Report. Till then, you guys have a great, safe weekend, and we'll see